The New York Post, they unleashed this treasure trove of emails from Hunter Biden's personal laptop, showing communications and correspondence that he had between himself and Burisma, this Ukrainian gas company. He was a member of the board on that company. What I want to talk about here is, yes, it's the Hunter Biden story, but it's much larger than that. The bigger issue here is the censorship. But just to refresh your memory, I put together a video yesterday showing, highlighting, underscoring Joe Biden and his lies. So you can recall that throughout the campaign trail, he was actually asked about this, about his son and his business dealings several times. And, you know, he'd lose it. He'd go off on a tirade and then throw a tantrum and yell at reporters. So I put together a little clip here to remind you of Joe Biden's temperament.
As vice president in charge of policy in Ukraine, and your son's job in Ukraine, how is that not a conflict of interest?
It's not a conflict of interest. There's been no indication of any conflict of interest from Ukraine or anywhere else. Period. I'm not gonna respond to that. Let's focus on.
Sent your son over there to get a job and work for a gas company that he had no experience with gas or nothing, in order to get access to the public for the president. So you're selling access to the president just like he is. So
you're a damn liar, man. That's not true. And no one has ever said that. No one has heard that. You see how
it was, what, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Okay, so look, Joe Biden is corrupt. Hunter Biden is corrupt. The entire Biden family dynasty is corrupt. We know that. And he was lying at the time. We knew he was lying at the time. And now we just have even more evidence that he's lying. The Biden campaign, Hunter Biden, no one from the Biden camp has denied the authenticity of these emails. Okay? So for all of these clowns online that are arguing, oh, these emails are faked, oh, they were placed. Okay, well, why isn't the Biden campaign saying that then? Why has no one denied their authenticity if they are fake? They're not fake, that's why. They're not fake, they're real. Now, what's amazing to me is that Rudy Giuliani, of all people, got his hands on this laptop. So it was dropped off at some repair shop, and he managed to get a hold of it. I mean, this is insane. You know, Rudy Giuliani is like some mob figure, and he's showing himself to be more of an investigative reporter than half of the people who work in journalism. It's really funny, honestly. He's such a shady, like, mob figure that it's just hilarious thinking that he actually got his hands on this laptop. Anyway, so Trump's lawyer essentially got his hands on this laptop, and no one's denied the authenticity of the documents. Nonetheless, the documents, this story, is not the issue here. The real issue is the censorship, okay? The real issue here is the censorship. So people who tried to post the link to this story from the New York Post were blocked. They weren't able to post the link. Here's a screenshot showing you what that's like. It says tweet not sent. You can't post it. You're also blocked from sharing it in direct messages on Twitter. This is insane. This is insane. I mean, this is a whole other level of censorship. It's not just, oh, we're gonna bury it and make you think you posted it. No, it's like, you can't post it. Be quiet. You're not posting it. What? I mean, both of those are bad, but this is just a whole other level. It's just in your face. It's like, no, you can't post it. Bad dog. What is going on here? This is insane. And of course, it's not just Twitter. It's also Facebook. So here you can see from NPR, they reported about the censorship, and they said that Facebook was limiting distribution of the Post's main story, while its outside fact checkers reviewed the claims. Fact checkers. Here's a little nuance for you. Why not fact check it if we're going to abort this Orwellian lifestyle? Why not fact check it, and then if you really found out that it's fake, then censor it, which would still be wrong. But why not approach it that way, to at least try and appear impartial? No? No? Okay. Now it's just screw you. We're not even going to let you post it. And we're not even going to do anything. We're going to fact check it. So now essentially we have a bunch of billionaires who are accountable to no one, deciding what is the truth, deciding what you are allowed to post, deciding what news is, what is in the public interest, what is newsworthy. This is madness. And all of this, why? Because they want to protect Democratic Party leadership. right? This is just to protect political elites. I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. We know that these big tech companies serve as an arm of the national security blob. They're not here because they want to provide you with nice little services and make your life better. No, they're here to spy on everyone. Okay, we know that for a fact. They worked willingly with the NSA. They work for the government. So it's only natural they would protect people in government. I mean, but this level of censorship is scary. It's not about Joe Biden. It's not about Hunter Biden. I don't care about the Biden dynasty as much as I care about what's happening here. Okay, this is very dangerous because the justification they're using for this is it's hacked materials. Right? So if you go and look at Twitter's policy over here, their policy, right? They have policy, yes. After all, if you're controlling public discourse and running governments, yes, there's policy involved now. So you can see here, distribution of hacked material policy. So this is the justification that they're using to limit the reach, to limit the ability of people to post these stories. And the same thing happened with me. So a few hours after the Ukraine emails came out about Burisma, the China emails came out. I posted that story, and people who clicked on the link were met with a message that this is an unsafe link. Why? Why is it unsafe? To whom is it unsafe? Joe Biden and his family? You know, this is a really weird justification that we've been hearing now for years, right, since the Hillary emails, that, because it's election season, therefore we should censor pertinent information that is relevant to the public. I mean, you should never censor anything regardless, but if there was going to be a time when this kind of information is relevant, you know, when voters are about to make up their minds on who they're going to vote for, this would be the pristine moment not to censor anything. Not the moment where you censor things. This is absurd. It's crazy. This stuff is in the public interest. And they're telling you now, no, big tech is going to decide. Facebook and Twitter will decide what's in the public interest, and if it's even true. And they have their own teams of fact checkers. We don't even know who are on these teams. You're going to tell me there's no conflict of interest with the people who are on these teams? We already know that they employ people who are usually involved and have lucrative business dealings with the very stories they're supposed to fact check. This is so dangerous and unhealthy. And I mean, look at this. You guys remember this from the Washington Post? 2003? Irrefutable. Irrefutable. That's what they called the allegations of weapons of mass destruction. Irrefutable. I don't see anyone limiting the Washington Post. They have a Facebook page. They have a Twitter. They've never been deplatformed. They killed people. They fucking murdered 1 million Iraqis with their lies. They called it irrefutable. There were stenographers. They're copying and pasting memos from the fucking State Department. Lies about weapons of mass destruction. They murdered an entire nation. They set the fucking Middle East on fire. Still on Twitter. Still on Facebook. Still on YouTube. What about the OPCW? The cover-up about the chemical weapon attack in Syria. They bombed Damascus while my cousin was there. And I still have family there. They bombed my family based on a made-up chemical attack in 2018. Where were the fact-checkers for that? Why are these fucking sleazeballs from the New York Times still posting that shit? Oh, you can look at the research we did here. Go and stuff your research up your fucking ass, you lying motherfucker. Because the people who went there, who were tasked with examining the goddamn evidence, the scientists, said no fucking attack took place. What are you, a scientist now? You work for the OPCW, asshole? They're still fucking posting it. Lying through their teeth, making it up, fabricating gas attacks. They are fabricating lies about weapons of mass destruction, just like in 2003. Where's the fact checkers for that? Is anyone looking into what they're posting? Is anyone limiting these stories from being shared? These stories that help to cause wars, to kill people? What about that? What's next? What's next? What is this hacked materials policy anyway? The entire domain of national security journalism relies on hacked materials, leaked materials, classified materials. Those are especially the documents that are of extreme relevance to the public interest. So what does that mean next? We can't share stories from WikiLeaks? What does that mean? We can't share government wrongdoing and crimes because the documents proving the government did something wrong were stolen or hacked? What does that mean? All of the major stories in the last decades come from leaked materials, classified materials, stolen materials, the Pentagon Papers, the Iraq war logs. All of these were stolen. And we needed to know what was going on. We needed to know about these war crimes. This is extremely unhealthy and dangerous. I can't overstate that enough. I really can. You know, I just sat through fucking 4 weeks of a hearing, man, about Julian Assange and how they're trying to bury as much as possible the real victims of the crimes. How they're trying to send journalism to fucking jail and put anyone who goes against official narrative in jail. I witnessed it with my own fucking eyes. This is not okay. This is extremely dangerous. And all these people that are cheering this on are out of their goddamn mind. It's not about Joe Biden here. Who gives a shit about corn pop? He's not the issue. The issue here is the censorship and what it means for the future. What they're going to censor next. And we already know they play with the algorithm. We already know that. Even when you're watching right now this live video on YouTube, we don't even know if you're going to get a notification half of the time. I literally don't know. I'm just going live and I'm hoping you get a notification. And the videos themselves, we know independent media, whether it's me or Jimmy Dore or Status Quo, they're burying these videos. We know this from the beginning. They've been doing it for fucking years. It's unbelievable. This is absolutely unbelievable. And they want to call this a democracy. This is the most undemocratic shit on the face of the planet. I mean, could you imagine if any other country did this right on the cusp of an election? They would invade that country. They would invade it. They would start regime change. Oh, you see, they're meddling with the election. Just like they accused Morales, right? They made up these lies with the OAS. Oh, look, he's tampering with the figures and he's running interference. But it's okay for them to do it. Man, I'm at a loss for words. I really am. It's so hard to go through all of this shit and look at this, and it's just like everyone is fine with it. It doesn't mean anything because, you know, the way they've sold this, the way they've marketed this is so clever, right? They made it about Trump. Everybody hates Trump. So now they can show, oh, you see Trump, he's using this for political capital, and he's a big bad meanie. Orange Cheeto Man bad. So we have to just kindly put this away and shh. Go to bed. Go to sleep. And everyone they don't care. They just move on with it. And they even encourage it and they cheer it on. You know why? Because these hacks, these morons that are applauding this kind of behavior, they don't do any real fucking journalism. They never say anything that is actually of any value. They don't do national security journalism. They don't expose any government wrongdoing. They don't actually expose any corruption. They don't do anything. Their brand of reporting and journalism is horse manure. That's what they do. They repeat what is given to them by their producers, by the State Department. They repeat the official narrative. So they're never going to be a victim of censorship. They're never going to have their YouTube censored or their videos limited by the algorithm. They're never going to be deplatformed because they don't do real journalism. They're hacks. They're fucking corrupt bot pieces of shit. So of course they would cheer this on. Of course they would cheer this on. This is so dangerous, man, that we are... What a sad state of affairs. What a sad state of affairs, truly. Because I'm seeing this with Assange. I'm seeing this with journalists that go against official narrative on Syria in the UK. I'm seeing this with this crap on Twitter now. I'm seeing this with Facebook. All across the board. In the US, in the UK, internationally, they're just clamping down on press freedoms. And I'm really not saying that lightly. And what a non-story as well. I mean, this is so obscene. You consider the things that have been leaked in the past. You consider past revelations of corruption, of government wrongdoing, of crimes committed by political elites. This is a drop in the ocean. I mean, compare this to Watergate, for example. This is a fart. Compare this to the Iraq war logs or the Afghan war diaries. This is a farce. And yet they are still using that. They are still using this to establish a new precedent. It's always bit by bit, right? Oh, it's election integrity. Oh, we're just reducing the reach. We're limiting the reach, right? They use the Orwellian language, right? So you can post it on Facebook, but not as many people are going to say. We have to fact check it. We have to establish the veracity of it. But now it's just Twitter telling you, no, you can't post the link. Screw you. Oh, they're really, I'm speechless. I'm really speechless. This is why I tell you guys to go and sign up with the newsletter, because that's decentralized. It's not dependent on YouTube. It's not dependent on Facebook. It's not dependent on Twitter or none of these bastards. Hold on. Let me get the newsletter link for you over here. There we go. So it's pasted in the live chat. But listen, once again, don't get lost or sucked into this nonsense about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. They're not the issue here. Yes, they're corrupt. We know that. We already knew that. This is a non-story. The real story here is how they're using this, they're capitalizing off of this to establish a new precedent and continue off of the work that they're building for the last couple of years, which is this drip, 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 more and more progressive censorship. I'm so disgusted. And you know, when it comes to real issues, when it comes to things that matter, that kill people, that cause wars, silence. No one is going to fact check MSNBC. No one is going to fact check the New York Times for lying about chemical gas attacks in Syria. No one is going to fact check the Washington Post or deplatform them because they lied about WMDs in Iraq. No one. But if you expose corruption by political elites, if you expose corruption by Joe fucking Biden and his sleazebag son of a bitch son, then all of a sudden, now they have to limit the reach. Now they have to bring in fact checkers to establish the veracity of the story. Now all of a sudden they're deciding, a bunch of unaccountable billionaires are now deciding what is the truth and what is in the public interest. And then they sell you this nonsense about election integrity. No. Real election integrity is giving voters as much information as possible, not censoring information because it's potentially damaging to these fucking hacks in Washington, D.C. It's not your job to censor anything. And yet, nonetheless, when they do it, when they do engage in this blatant act of authoritarianism, they're always doing it at the behest of these political elites. They're always doing it to protect these pieces of fucking shit in Washington, D.C. who kill people and murder them, who make careers out of lying, who make careers out of working for corporations. That's who they're fucking protecting. They never fact-check lies about weapons of mass destruction. They never fact-check people who openly commit acts of murder and war crimes. Never. They never fact-check wrongdoing by the government. No. The only thing they're going to fact-check are stories that are damaging to the government. This is unbelievable.